All right. All right, let's get started. Let's fire this bad boy up. I didn't say that. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening once again. Thank you for this body of believers. Speak to us this evening through your word and bring clarity to all of us. Amen. Tonight, please remind me to repeat the questions that people ask before I answer them. Okay. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. So, before I want to go over something. We've already gone over this. What is the Lord's Prayer? Okay, let's go through it slow. Okay, first, Our Father. Well, hold on. Second part.
Hallowed be thy name.
Yeah, okay, right. He is what? What does that tell us about the Father? He is holy, and he is where? In heaven. Okay, so what's the next part? Thy kingdom come. Okay, he's also a what? King. He's a king. And his kingdom, when we say your kingdom come, what are we saying about here? It's not here, right? He is a king, and there is a break between this and us here. Thy kingdom come. What's the second part? Thy will be done. Okay, so he has will. Be done. Finish it. On earth as it is in heaven. So again, we're addressing that there's a divide, right? Because his will is done in heaven, and we desire it to also be done on earth, here. We can put here us. So let's keep going. Give us today our daily bread, okay? So what is that idiomatic? Do you guys know what that means? Idiomatic? An idiom is a figure of speech that we use. If I say, caught you red-handed, what have I caught you doing? Stealing. So what does the idiom, my daily bread, what is that stand for? Give us today my daily, right, needs. We have needs here, right? We have needs. It's funny, this is the first time we don't have a parallel, right? There's no needs in heaven. And what's the last part? Forgive us our trespasses as we, okay, so there's a parallel. God, we want his forgiveness. but we're also willing to what? And this is fair. We're asking for the willingness to forgive, right? We're asking for His, and that He would give His to us to make us willing. Help us obey your will. Really, that's what that's about. Forgive us that we don't, and forgive our pride when we won't give that to other people. Okay. This idea is going to play out in the next chapters of Revelation. This idea that God is a king in heaven, and that's where His will originates, and that because heaven is the abode of the King God, that's where authority comes from. So, starting in chapter 12, the tone of the book gets very visual, and you start to see all these things. And we are watching this line here, heaven, we're going to see over and over. Heaven, earth. And there's a line here, I should have put it this way. There's a line here, but we use the word heaven. What is heaven? I know this is going to be tough maybe to get at because it's vague in the beginning, but think of it's a realm. It is a realm. And it has at the top of it a what? So what is it? It's a kingdom, right? Now think, what is this?
Temporary dwelling.
But does it also have one of these? No. Yeah, yes, it does. No. I'll use Paul's language. The king of this world. Right. That's Satan. And it is a kingdom. The kingdom of the earth. We'll see this represented as Babylon. The kingdoms of the earth. Jesus, we know, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but He is the king, right? Now, eventually, does this line exist forever? No, right? Eventually, the king of heaven comes down and marries His kingdom with the earth's kingdom, right? And then this line is blurred. In the book, this is the focal point, this marriage where heaven and earth come together and Christ reigns over both of them as one, and they're one kingdom and king are together forever. As this approaches John's vision, this line starts to blur too. Like in the beginning in 4:1, he's caught up. Like he leaves the earth in his vision anyways, and he's like in heaven. And he's in the throne room. And he's now above the crystal sea. He's above the dividing line, right? And then he sees things that are happening on the earth, and then he's back in heaven, but he now sees people that were on the earth in heaven, and in the bowls, we're going to get in the next, from 12 on, this line between heaven and earth is going to start to blur because the merging is starting to begin, these two realms. And as the time of the king and the kingdom get closer, the merging of these two realms get closer, the intensity of it all cranks up. the king who's kind of holding this kingdom captive really starts to fight against the arrival of the actual king, right? So if we're not aware of this style of communication, then this is really bizarre and hard to understand. If we are aware of it, it helps us. Keep in your mind, as in heaven, on the earth. As in heaven, on the earth. Over and over, it's going to be flashes of heaven, happens on earth. Flashes of heaven, happens on earth. Explanation. Flashes of heaven, happening on earth. Flashes of heaven, happening on earth. It's over and over. I'm going to turn this around. I have almost figured this thing out, yeah. And tonight we're going to start to build an actual timeline. Oh, it's this eraser. Of events. I think that's good. For this time period. So let's, first of all, before we start reading, we are going to be in 12:1. What questions do we have so far? Anything? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention, you said the king of the earth is Satan, but we have to remember the verse, greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world.
Yes.
So Jesus is always
Yes.
authority.
But Satan is
In
the...
us. Jesus in us.
Yes, right. Yeah, so the question is, Satan... It's more of a statement, like even though Satan is the king of this earth, Christ in us is still more powerful, and he's the actual king, right?
Greater is he who is
Yeah,
in us than
yes,
he who is in the world.
absolutely. On an individual basis. We are fighting the one there is one in the world, and this is his domain. So, and we're going to get into that right now. So, in 12:1, now a great sign appeared in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Okay. Someone other than you, this should be ringing a humongous bell. This can only be one thing. And why can it only be one thing? And this goes back to the beginning of this one thing.
Eve, because she's going to have the baby?
No, ma'am. But I love the guessing. I'm seriously, go for it. Who cares if we're but this is like this goes back to a dream, a very significant dream. No, not Pharaoh's dreams. We're getting close. That's close to the time frame that I'm talking about. And this guy does serve a Pharaoh.
If it's a dream, it's got to be in
No? Joseph, yeah, right. Yeah. What does Joseph see in his dream? Related to what he's seeing in this sign. Why do his brothers throw him in the cave? Jealousy because of the dream that he relates to them. And his dad's like, you're an idiot. What does his dad say? Are we all meant to bow down to you? What does he sees the sun and he sees the moon. And what do the sun and the moon do? They bow down to him. And doesn't he see stars? How many stars? 12. And they bow down to him. And why is Joseph significant? Without Joseph, you don't have the nation of Israel. It starts with Joseph. It starts with Jacob. But Joseph is the one that protects it and brings it to Egypt. It's because of Joseph that they have that. So the sun and the moon and the 12 stars on the crown, it can only be the nation of Israel. This woman is the nation of Israel. And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Times, that should be ringing a bell. Where does 7 heads and 10 horns come from? We just read it last week. Daniel. Ringing a bell. Ding, 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 Daniel. So as the reader's reading this, I already know instantly what he's talking about. Oh, the 7 heads and 10 horns. That's that final beast that Daniel didn't ever get explanation for. The one that hasn't come yet. So now I know exactly where this is locked into, right?
David,
Yes, ma'am?
so I went back, I found where the dream,
Yeah.
Daniel's dream, but he only had 11 stars there. What's the
He's the 12th.
He's
Yeah, so my bad, 11 stars. But yeah, he's the 12th. Because it's the 11 other tribes, or 11 other brothers. So, this woman, the woman is Israel. Which, by the way, last week I was like, pay attention to 3 signs. She's the first sign. Sign number 1. Israel. What's the second sign? No. Yeah, the great red dragon. Red is very much a color, like it's a color of violence. But he's the dragon. Yeah. Who is the dragon? I'm glad we all got, yeah. We'll say, the adversary. Importantly, in the Word of God, this person is actually never ever named. He's never named. The closest you get is God. God's going to insult him here in a little bit. But he's called the dragon. But the name Satan is adversary. He's the adversary. He's named the adversary or is named the accuser. But he's never named. So the name Satan he's the adversary. Okay, but look. He sweeps, and his tail swept away 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so when she gave birth, he might devour her child. Now, historically, does that kind of ring a bell? How might historically we have seen on earth the dragon trying to devour the child of the woman? Yeah, Pharaoh, when he... What? Right? Right? He's on it, right? Pharaoh, when Jesus was born, right? Didn't he have to be hidden? And was that the only time that's happened? Right? Both of those times. Right? So, exactly. In Pharaoh and with Herod. Oh, that's right. I said Pharaoh, but I meant Herod. But yeah. On earth as in heaven. John sees in heaven. He's seeing the history of Christ to the end play out in heaven. And it happens on the earth. Oh, importantly though, who is this person going against? No, that's important. Who is this person going against? and specifically Israel. This is a big deal for us to understand. Satan is not, nor was he ever, God's adversary. He's Israel's adversary. He is man's adversary, never God's. He tries to hurt God by attacking and killing his son. The first one was who? Adam. Satan killed God's first son, Adam. He killed him. Boom. And he tried to kill his actual son, his unique son, Jesus. But what happens? Why is he not able to kill him? And she gave birth to a son, a male, who is to rule all of the nations with a rod iron. This is interesting. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. Isn't that what happened to Christ in the ascension? Right? Okay, so he's safe. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God so that she might be nourished for 1,260 days. Well, what's 1,260 divided by 360? 3.5. So for 3.5 years, she's protected. This woman is protected in the wilderness from who? From the dragon. Well, the dragon doesn't really get involved until when? 3.5 years. So the second 3.5 years, the woman is in the wilderness. We'll put, Israel in wilderness. In the wild. And maybe it'd help to do a little different color here. Work with me? Yeah. Interestingly, the dragon is thrown down to the earth and he sweeps 1/3 of the stars with him. What does that mean? The closest we can get is angelic beings. There are references in the Old Testament to him taking 1/3 of the angels, so I'm willing to go there. That's less important than identifying this is the enemy. These two are equal adversaries, right? They're adversaries. He does not challenge God. He challenges Israel. He goes for the woman. It is fair to say, just to be fair, he challenges God when he tries to kill Christ, right? He's challenging him then. But his target is the woman. Now, 7. There's war in heaven, and Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels wage war. And they were not strong enough, and there was no longer a place found in them for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down. This is interesting. The serpent of old, or it's the old serpent who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. This is an important verse, and it's important because it gives us an insight into the state of our adversary. God calls him, and he insults him. He says he's old, which what is he undergoing? He's aging. Yeah, Satan is aging. The demons, they age. Unlike the angels in heaven and unlike God himself, obviously, but once they fell, they began to age. So Satan has his power, his presence, it's been corrupted. He is not what he once was. He's not useless, but he is not what he once was. He's old, and God insults him as such. So in 10, I heard a loud voice in heavens. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? What's the timeline of this? Because in the Old Testament, we read about him claiming that he's going to rise above the throne, he's going to create his own kingdom, et cetera, and that, if you would, he was moved out of heaven, cast down to the earth, the angels, fallen angels went with him.
Oh, what's the timeline for this?
But then we read other parts where he comes back into heaven and he has
Yes,
talks
right.
about Job, and he accuses the brethren.
So right now, Satan has a place in heaven.
He can go back and forth.
Yeah, right. He has access to the realm today.
Yeah.
Right now, he has access to the realm. And like you're saying, in Job, he goes there unopposed. He's summoned, and he appears, and everyone's like, oh, he's back, And even now, he is not now, although maybe, but at some point, he assaults heaven, And Michael and the angels fight him off, and then God's like, no more. And, Paul talks about the spiritual warfare and battle that we're in. Well, we feel, I don't mean to be too mystical, but we feel the spiritual battle that is being waged in heaven. That's what it actually is. Michael and the angels are waging war, defending the assault of heaven, and on the earth, everything that the gospel stands for is being assaulted. God's signature, the rainbow, now means everything gay and perverted. Children are trying to be, not children, but are being targeted for castration. I mean, babies are being killed. All the things that God stands for are being attacked on the earth because Satan's waging war in heaven. And when the time comes and there's no more place for them, the spiritual battle dies down here and the physical battle picks up because Satan is now here and here alone. And how much time does he have? A short time. And he knows he has a short time. And that's why it says, woe to those who are on the earth, for the devil has come down to you, and he knows that he has a short time only. So you're feeling in the text, the merger is coming. First, now Satan is cast down. The line has been drawn hard and fast. It's like heaven is preparing. It's consolidated itself, and it's preparing for the invasion of earth. The first thing is to expel everybody who doesn't belong. So all the Satan, all the demons are confined to earth. Yeah.
Question, touch on something you just mentioned, talking about Job and Satan on earth. Is it this time, I've always wanted to ask this question and wondered, Satan still has to go before God and ask permission. It's like he wonders, kind of like with Job when God, said, what are you doing? He's like, oh, just wandering around. Is there still that aspect?
So Satan is never anything but a subject of God.
Right.
He never attains to a higher place of authority than he did the moment before he fell, right? After that, it's been, 40 and over, heading downhill from there. Since Christ, he has no authority other than the authority he's given by people.
That's what, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge that a little bit. When you say that he
My
has
bad.
authority on earth, but there's a battle going on in heaven, so he has some authority or power.
Yes, it's interesting because he does not have the authority over sin and death. Christ purchased that.
Right.
In Hebrews, he arrested that. He like ripped it out of Satan's hand so that Satan cannot point to you and say, sinner.
Right.
God's like, yeah, whatever. Not, he means much more than that, but it's not true, you know? And when I die, death has no claim over me because of Christ. He won that.
So death, where's your sting?
Yes, but there is still this line, the line that exists on the other side of the board between heaven and earth. It's still there, right? And the merger has begun, but it's not complete. And until it's complete, the king of this world, this is his realm. Like he has nowhere else to go. He can visit heaven right now. I'm not speaking specifically on the functionality of where he moves. I'm just saying he's not confined to here yet, but this is his realm. How do I know that he has authority here?
Oh, yeah.
No, but there's one thing that tells me he has authority here, and we all experience it every day. Yes, death. The fact that who's a believer? I'm serious. Keep your hands up. Put your hand down if you're not dying.
Oh, wow.
We're all dying, right? We are all subject to him. We are in the kingdom of Satan. There is death here. He reigns. He reigns. We're getting a little bit Pauline here, okay? Satan reigns in my mortal body. Can I make the mortal body better? No. What happens to the old man on Calvary? Boom, he is crucified as guilty. He's killed. Why? Because he deserves it. It's required justice. Well, what happens to David? He's born what? A new what? Creation. I'm new. I have been conceived by God new in that moment, separate from the guilty old person. Paul would say there are two different Davids living in the fleshly body. The old David who is subject to the flesh, that follows the fleshly lusts that everyone has. Who here is without sin? I'm going to sit down too, right? John acknowledges this tension. We have an advocate. If we say we don't sin, who are we calling a liar? God. Okay, so it's like there is this tension of, yes, the kingdom is real. God in me is more powerful. However, where is his will actually done? In heaven. Where do I want to see it done? On earth. But I need help if it's going to be done in my heart first, and then I can bring it out into the world, but not until I'm willing to forgive other people. Right? Which is just a way of saying, if you're willing to participate in the pain of the gospel, then
Great reward.
yeah, you're ushering in the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
Because the people who go through the tribulation period, they get to enter the kingdom. They go through pain. Christ, he got to go to heaven. He went through pain. Did Paul? All of us. Love is sacrifice. It's pain. It is the kingdom of God. That's encouraging. Let's keep going. Okay, so in 10, and I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren has been thrown down, who accuses them before our God day and night. So look, The accuser's thrown down, boom, and everyone's like, uh-oh, now it's about to happen. Remember, this is not remember, but I'm remembering, so remember for you, when Christ says to the disciples, the generation that sees the sign will see the end. In heaven, they're acknowledging that. Right when the dragon is thrown down, what do they say? Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. Now is the time. Once this happens, you better be ready. You know? I mean, as we age, doesn't time fly? My oldest is in a couple years, he's going to be gone, right? I remember having, just like yesterday, bringing him home. We had to bring him back, put him back in the battery, kickstart him, bring him back here. He was barely alive. Now he's almost gone. 3.5 years of persecution running for your life is going to go like that. It's going to happen very fast. And they overcame, I'm in 11, and they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony, and they did not love their life even to the death. For this reason, rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he has only a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was thrown down to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the child. And the 2 wings of the great eagle were given to the woman in order that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she was nourished for a time, times, and half a time. 3.5 years. A time, 1 times 2, and a half a time. Half, 3.5. From the presence of the serpent. Why does he call him, he called him the dragon. Why now the serpent? Yes, and what does the serpent bring you back to? Eve, right. Yeah, we're about to settle the old score, right? He's bringing, remember we talked about the nature of the scroll and the envelope structure, how the end comes up. He's setting it up. The 2 realms are coming together. In the beginning, who walked with Adam and Eve? God. So what do we know about the 2 realms in the beginning? They were one. They were one. Now it's about to happen again. Also, okay, so we'll keep going. And the serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman, so that he might cause her to be swept away with the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and drank up the river which the dragon poured out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman and went off to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. Chapter 12 makes the rapture, pre-tribulation rapture, useless. Because all these people are Christians. Why are they being persecuted? Because testimony of what? Jesus, right, yeah. So why take believers out of the way only to now have a brand new generation of believers that now get punished, but the older believers, that doesn't make any sense, right? These people are Christians. And in that the devil is not able to get at Israel, he now turns his attention to anyone who follows the name of Jesus, right? Now you're all getting it. Also, can you notice in the description how he's looking? It's almost like John standing on the earth, but he's seeing now both at the same time. Right? The serpent's pouring out, the dragon pours out his mouth, a big flood, and the earth opens up its mouth. There's both now, right? This symbolism is not just in heaven. It's now coming down to the earth more directly. It's all coming together. And he stood on the sand of the seashore. And I saw, this is the serpent, or the dragon. And I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads. Again, this can only be one beast, right? This is the beast that Daniel was so afraid of, the final beast. And on his horns were 10 diadems, and his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth was like that of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and his great authority. Where do those figures come from? That's all from Daniel, right? So you know, okay, what do we know about the dragon? Think about this. All those kingdoms were in Daniel. All those animals were in Daniel, right? They're all, though, the dragon, right? They're all subject to the dragon. So all of those kingdoms were subject and building up to this final kingdom, but it's all the dragon. He's been doing it the whole time, right? Simultaneously, while God has been working salvation through the history of Israel, the dragon has been working opposition, adversary, accusing through his kingdom. It's this dual kingdom that's building up. What does God call this kingdom? What is it? Well, I should say it differently. What is God's ideal vision for this kingdom? What does he call her in the end? A bride. Who does this turn out to be? It's personified as a different woman, a different kind of lady. Yeah, she's a prostitute. Sorry. Fundamentally, what is the driving force behind finding a bride for a man? You can say it. We all know it.
Fornicate.
Yeah, well, it's not fornication because she's your bride, right? But you want to have sex, right? Why do people visit a prostitute? Because you want to have sex. Fundamentally, you can say they're the same function. What's the difference? Okay. Commitment. Well, I mean, don't make it spiritual.
Relationship.
No, that's too spiritual.
Love.
Nope. There's something exceedingly functional that's so obviously different about these two. Nope. Nope. There it is. He said it. Monogamy. She sleeps with who? Anybody. She sleeps with who? Only you. That's the difference. Because she sleeps with only you, she's what to you? She's special to you. She's unique because who's ever had her but you? No one.
Loyal and faithful.
Right. And that's a choice that she has to make, right? It's not that she isn't attracted to other people. It's not that no one would pay her to have sex. She chooses to be yours. And that choice makes her valuable. Everyone knows how much she costs every time. And if you're willing to pay the price, you can have her. She's yours. While she's there. While you're there. Right? It's very, very different functionally. He's building this. This is what he wants. Whatever. He doesn't care. Totally different. He'll work with Persia, Media, Greece, Rome, everybody. Yep. No. Israel is my people. Israel.
I say there's one God and there's many gods.
Yes, right. I mean, it is just so stark and obvious when God lays it out like this.
Just a thought came to my mind. It was like thinking about one time I was talking about God's, purpose of us in life is just to be pure, sexually pure.
Pure in everything, yeah, right. Yes.
That makes,
Yeah, he takes it very seriously. Okay, so, and the beast which I saw like a leopard, feet like a bear, mouth like a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his throne and his great authority. So when the dragon comes down, he gives the leader of the beast his authority and power. And I saw one of the heads of this beast as if it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who is able to wage war with him?" Okay, now, going back a little bit. Who's present, if you guys remember, who are the people that are significant here that are causing a lot of problems on the earth?
politicians.
No, not Israel. Remember, who are the olive branches in this vision? The two witnesses. How long do they minister for? They minister for 3.5 years. What ends their ministry? They die. Yeah, and the two witnesses.
But they are prophesying.
Yeah. They serve the function of John the Baptist. They are coming before. Anyways, kind of. That's not fair. They are bringing. They're preaching repentance and all that, and they're judging people, and then they're killed. Funny. They're killed right when this guy comes into power. And he comes into power with a fatal wound that's healed. He's killed. Also interesting, what does God say about people that try to kill these two people? They will also what? Die. So it's highly likely that the Antichrist and these two witnesses have a conflict and kill each other. Satan now indwells the Antichrist and brings him back to life, at which point he becomes the Antichrist, and the people of God have no protection. The two witnesses are dead. And this happens in Jerusalem, by the way. And everyone, remember, hates these people so much that they're like, leave them there because they're not coming over here.
Right.
Until what happens? God calls them up, whoosh, and everyone's like, oh! That may have been a mistake. On with the killing, So this is a time frame. Details are starting to come together. In verse 5, which, by the way, in verse 4, who is like the beast and who was able to wage war with him? Wouldn't you be asking yourself that if he just killed those two people and came back to life? Right? You betcha you're starting to worship. I guess this is as good a time, Vinny. Why do you believe that Jesus can save you?
I have a definition.
Why do you believe?
Because he is omnipresent, which means something is present everywhere at the same time.
Okay. Zeus is omnipresent. Osiris is omnipresent.
Satan has to get permission from God.
But why can Jesus personally save you? Okay.
No weapon formed or fashioned against me will ever prevail.
That's after, though. That's only because he can save you. Well, why? He did something that is unique.
Took my stripes.
He did that. He rose from the dead. Without that, it's all meaningless. If he does not raise from the dead, everything he said is a lie. That's the truth. And it's only his power to resurrect himself from the dead that gives him the power to resurrect who? Right. So, interestingly enough, what does Satan do to ignite his claim of kingship on the earth? He resurrects someone from the dead. He imitates the king so that he's like, look, you guys all follow Jesus because he resurrected. I have now resurrected. What does the Antichrist do from that point? How do we know he's the Antichrist? He commits a particular sin. What is it?
Abomination.
The abomination of desolation. Just look at it. He kills these two dudes. He resurrects. He walks into the temple. I am the resurrected God. I stand before you. My wounds are healed. I am your resurrected God. Worship me now. It's clear as day what is coming, right? And 5. There was given to him a mouth speaking arrogant words and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him. 3.5 years, Jewish years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against God to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle. Those who dwell in heaven. He's blaspheming heaven. He doesn't have access to it anymore. He blasphemes it, the upper realm. And it was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation was given to him. And all who dwell on the earth will worship him. Everyone whose name has not been written in the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and faith of the saints. This is a little bit harder, but it should also ring a bell, especially he who kills with the sword must be killed. Thank you. Yes, he goes all the way back to Genesis. Why is he taking it all the way back there? Is he saying, I am wrapping up history. I'm wrapping it all up. You guys remember in the beginning when I said, he who kills with the sword must be killed? I am coming with my sword to fulfill that word personally. He's bringing all the old. Remember, he said, the serpent. He's bringing that back. The serpent's back. Oh, the curse on Cain is coming back. All these old words that we didn't know were prophecies, they're about to become prophecies. Christ is going to show you how he literally meant what he said. He is going to wrap it up like a scroll, roll it up, fold it up like an envelope. Everything I said in the beginning, I meant it, and it's coming. It's pretty cool. So 11, and I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. And he exercises all the authority in the first beast in his presence of the first beast, and he makes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed. And he performs great signs so that he even makes fire come down out of heaven to the earth in the presence of them. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth because of the signs which was given to him to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who had the wound of the sword and has come to life. This too should be drawing an eerie parallel. What is Satan trying to do? He's trying to birth his final kingdom on the earth and solidify his rule, right? How did God begin to birth Israel? Who did he send? No, when he was birthing Israel, who did he send to draw the nation out? Moses and Aaron, right? It's interesting that how many people come out of you got the Antichrist and you got the second person, the false prophet. It's really similar to Moses and Aaron at the birthing of a nation. And what does the false prophet do? He performs what? Signs. He performs signs. That's exactly what happened. The dragon can only imitate. He's not creative. He imitates what God is going after. He can only follow suit. He can only imitate. Well, that's too much. Okay. And we're in 15, right? And there was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast might even speak, and cause as many do not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Also, interestingly enough, I mean, the more you know the Old Testament, the more this just reeks of it. What did Nebuchadnezzar see? What was his vision of? A great statue, right? And it's interestingly enough, what happens in the end? There appears to be a statue that is given consciousness. It's all so together, wrapped up nice and tight, you know?
So, at that time, those who didn't worship the statue were killed.
Yeah, absolutely, right. I mean, it's just like, it's unreal how God is able to just touch on every single, he's just like tiptoeing over history. And just showing you all these footprints, and he's bringing all of it back, and he's saying, look, I am everything. Everything that has ever happened. Every time you've been, all the injustice, when I say that vengeance is mine, I am about to bring it. It's just, he's just leaving no stone unturned. And he's also showing you how every event on earth has only mirrored what has happened in heaven. Heaven is in control. And he causes all, the small, the great, the rich, the poor, the free, the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand and their forehead. No one should be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of a man, and his number is 666. We have to talk about this because it's too much fun.
But can I,
Yeah.
so this mark of the beast and all that has to happen in the last 3.5 years.
This happens, yep. The mark is over here, yeah.
Can't be happening now.
No,
Can't be- yeah.
right. Because this person exists this whole time. I should clarify. This person exists as the leader. He's just not the Antichrist until he's brought back from the dead. That's when he becomes formally the Antichrist, when Satan indwells him. So that's really when he also becomes the beast. So you can't have the mark of the beast until the dragon gives his authority to the beast by bringing him back to life. Does that make sense? So we'll put this as 666 time. We don't know if it's 666 or 616 because the best manuscripts we have do not agree with each other. So we love to focus on the number, but what does it actually tell you about? What is he actually telling you about the beast? What do we know about the beast so far?
It actually just tells us that
He's a man, right? It's not about this whole kingdom and political system. That's all set up to enable one man. It's a man. Beware, it's a man. And When you see him, you will know him. Historic preterists will say, well, Nero's name, and this is true, written out in the Jewish numerical system is 666, and that is true. But Nero wasn't the emperor during this time. Might his name be Nero? Sure. But by that time, it's going to be too late, because who cares what his name is when he's already been resurrected from the dead? I don't care if his name is Jeff. He's the Antichrist.
But I think the point is, because he's just talked about what you're describing, he's going to raise from the dead, he's going to do miracles, he's going to do all these things. He's going to claim to be God. And then we have this little passage, 18, he's a man.
He's a man, right.
He's not a God.
Right.
He's a man.
And he is still yet subject. And we're going to very much see that. Any other questions, by the way? No? Okay, cool. And I looked, and behold, the Lamb was standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his name and the name of his Father written on their foreheads. How did we get here? You know, all of a sudden now, bam, the Lamb, who the only other time we've really seen the Lamb, he's like in the throne room. Now he's on Mount Zion. What? And I heard a voice from heaven like the sound of many waters, and like the sound of loud thunder, and the voice which I heard like the sound of harpists playing on their harps. And they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been purchased from the earth. These are the ones who have not been defiled with women, for they have kept themselves chaste. These are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They have been purchased from among them as first fruits to God and to the Lamb, and no lie was found in their mouth. They are blameless. This could seriously be just a whole bunch of 144,000 Jews who see what's happening and convert to Christianity. And I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven, having an eternal gospel to preach to those who live on the earth and to every nation, tribe, and tongue and people. And he said with a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. And worship him who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and springs of waters." And then, yeah.
Sorry. So 14, verse 1 through 7, verse 5.
Yeah.
And I looked and saw the Lamb and the 144. This is like he's jumped ahead, right?
Yeah, he's jumped ahead, and he is seeing them arrayed in battle.
At the day of the Lord.
Yeah, he is seeing the day of the Lord in a visual sense, meaning in a symbolic sense. He's seeing it symbolically. He's going to see it more literally coming up. And the reason I say that is because when we see the Lamb, when we see Jesus, because we do come across the name Jesus, right? And we come across the Lamb, which we know is Jesus. When we see the Lamb, we know that we're encountering symbolic language. When we see Jesus, it's more literal. Where are we? Thank you. 7. And fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. And verse 8. Fallen is Babylon the Great, she who has made all the nations drink of the wine of the passion of her immorality. And another angel, a third one, followed them, saying, If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives a mark on his forehead or upon his hand, he will also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is mixed in full strength in the cup of his anger. And he will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. And they have no rest day and night, those who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the perseverance of the saints who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus. You see how when he's talking about literal events on the earth, he talks about Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow with them." And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and sitting on the cloud was one like the Son of Man, having a golden crown on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. And another angel came out of the temple. This is the temple in heaven, right? Crying out with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, Put in your sickle and reap, because the hour to reap has come, because the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he who sat on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, and he also had a sharp sickle. And another angel, the one who has the power over fire, came out from the altar, and he called out with a voice to him who had the sharp sickle, saying, "Put in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters from the vine of the earth, because her grapes are ripe." And the angel swung his sickle to the earth and gathered the clusters from the vine of the earth, and threw them into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out from the winepress up to the horse's bridle for a distance of about 200 miles. So you see that John is seeing, he is literally watching the merging of heaven and earth. These angels are bringing messages from heaven, and where are they? They're in between, right? They're in the sky. They're not on the earth. They're not in heaven. They're in the clouds. They're talking to the earth, but they're not here yet, right? It hasn't happened yet. Except, we do know that the wine press is going to be trodden outside the city. And what comes out? Does juice come out?
No.
No, blood comes out. Up to a horse's bridle, a man's shoulder. Up to a man's shoulder for how many miles? About 200 miles. That's funny. That's almost the exact length of the Valley of Megiddo. That the mountain of Armageddon looks over. So for 200 miles, there will be human corpses and blood up from the ground 4 feet up at the end of this battle. And I saw another sign. Oh, here's the third. The third sign. So what's the first sign again? Israel, the woman. The second, the dragon. The third is the judgment. Great and marvelous, this third sign. 7 angels who had 7 plagues, which are the last. Because in them the wrath of God is finished. What did God do to the nation, to the kingdom that was resisting the birth of his kingdom? What did he send upon them? Plagues. And what caused his kingdom, like what caused his enemy to relent? You're right. The increasing severity of these plagues until the death of his son. Right? What does he say about these plagues? He says these are the last plagues. Well, why are they the last? Because the kingdom ain't ever going to be separated from the king again. Right? The first time God birthed his nation, it was a little bitty baby plague. It was a baby show. And it was baby day of the Lord for Egypt. Egypt experienced a baby day of the Lord. The earth is going to experience the day of the Lord now. And in them the wrath of God is finished. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mixed with fire. Remember, because who instigated all this? The angel who has the authority over fire. Going back, why is fire a theme here? This is hard. This is upper level. Okay. What is happening here? This is a great what is going on the earth. God is what? Sin. This is a what? A big judgment, right? Has there ever been anything like this before? The flood, right? Who did God kill in the flood? Pretty much everybody. What did he say he would never use again? Water. What did he later say was coming? Fire. And that the fire judgment was going to be better or worse than the water judgment? Way worse. But I just want to pause for a second. It's going to be way worse than killing everybody. That's pretty bad. I mean, I would have thought you can't get worse than killing everybody. But apparently, it gets worse. And the worst part is, you don't die. That's why it's worse. You live through this judgment of fire. Okay, and I saw as it were a sea of glass now mixed with fire. And those, it's too much. Every detail, though, is about the merge. The sea of glass, okay, that's clearly the floor. That is the line that divides. In Ezekiel, remember, he sees everything below this expanse of crystal, he calls it, glass crystal. John gets into heaven, and what's he standing? What does he see? This crystal sea, now fire from this crystal sea has been mixed, and this line now is being thrown to the earth. The line now is not so fast. It's now mixing. It's involved. It's merging. It's mixed with fire. Those who had come off victorious from the beast and from his image and from the number of his name, standing on the sea of glass, holding harps of God. And they sang the song of Moses, the bondservant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are your works, O Lord God the Almighty. Righteous and true are your ways, you King of the nations. Who will not fear, O Lord, and glorify your name? For you alone are holy, and for all the nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous acts have been revealed. After these things I looked, in the temple of the tabernacle, the testimony in heaven was opened. And the 7 angels who had 7 plagues came out of the temple, clothed in linen, clean and bright, and girded around their breasts with golden girdles. And one of the 4 living creatures gave to the 7 angels 7 bowls full of the wrath of God who lives forever and ever. And the temple was filled with the smoke from the glory of God and from his power. And no one was able to enter the temple until the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were finished. Heaven is focused only on this moment. And I heard a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go and pour out the 7 bowls of the wrath of God into the earth. And the first angel went out and poured his bowl into the earth, and it became a loathsome and malignant sore upon the men who had the mark of the beast and worshipped his image. Apparently, ladies, get out of it. And the second angel poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became blood like that of a dead man, and every living thing in the sea died. And a third angel poured out his bowl into the rivers and springs of the water, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters saying, Righteous are you who art and who was, O Holy One, because you did judge these things. For they poured out the blood of the saints and the prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. They deserve it. And I heard the altar saying, Yes, O Lord God the Almighty, true and righteous are your judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his bowl upon the sun, and it was given to it to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched from the fierce heat, and they blasphemed the name of God who has the power over these plagues. And they did not repent so as to give him glory. And the fifth angel poured out his bowl upon the throne of the beast, and his kingdom became darkened. And they gnawed their tongues because of pain, and they blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and they did not repent of their deeds. And the sixth angel poured out his bowl upon the great river, the Euphrates, and its water dried up, that the way might be prepared for the kings of the east. We've seen this before already, right? Initially, we saw it was more of a spiritual. They had like all these weird spirits. Well, now we know that they were spiritual because they're representing who these people are. There's 200 million soldiers coming here for this battle. How do we get to 4 feet or a man's shoulder of blood and corpses? Well, here come 200 million soldiers to kill God's people. That's how we get to this. 200 million people come to kill the people of God. Are we still good to go? Okay. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet 3 unclean spirits like frogs, for they are spirits of demons, performing signs which go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them together for the war of the great day of God the Almighty. And he says, Behold, I am coming like a thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake and keeps his garments, lest he walk about naked and men see his shame. And they gathered them together to the place which in Hebrew is called Har Mageddon. Har meaning mountain, Mageddon being the name of the mountain. And the 7th angel poured out his bowl upon the air. And the loud voice came out of the temple from the throne saying, It is finished. That should ring a bell too. And there were flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder. Ringing bells. What does that mean? Day of the Lord. And there was a great earthquake, such had not been since man came to be upon the earth. That is a big deal. Listen to this description. So great an earthquake and so mighty. The great city, Jerusalem, was split into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. This is a global seismic event. And Babylon the Great was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of his fierce wrath. And every island fled away, and mountains were not found. And huge hailstones, about 100 pounds each, came down from heaven upon men. Now, when it says heaven here, it doesn't mean heaven, the realm, it means the sky. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, because its plague was extremely severe. So, just like if you guys remember in the trumpets, it's actually the one event of this asteroid coming down and slamming into the earth that kicks off all these things. In the same way, you get in the bowls, you find out that the sun scorches men with heat. Something about the sun changes, and it starts to become toxic to life on earth, and it kills everything, and it gets like skin cancer magnified. It's just like destroying people, except who is it not destroying? Israel, the people of God, those who have a testimony of Jesus. Why does that ring a bell? Because the people who were protected by the blood of the Lamb in Egypt were fine. I mean, it's marvelous how he ties everything together, wraps it up like a scroll, doesn't let you forget anything. It's all circular. Everything rolls back to itself. You see how in the beginning of the first few days, we talked about this Aristotelian logic and how it would be a nightmare to apply that here. It doesn't exist. It's just this rolling idea of watch me beat the crap out of my enemy time and time again. Are you afraid? Never be discouraged. I win in every way. I will be the victory for all of history in this moment. everything comes down to this moment. It's cool. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls, we got like 10 minutes left, came and spoke with me, saying, Come here, I shall show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth who have committed immorality and those who dwell on the earth were made drunk with the wine of her immorality. And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which is just a way of saying this is the beast. This is that kingdom that opposes itself, that itself opposes God. And the woman was clothed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a gold cup full of abominations and of the unclean things of her immorality. And upon her forehead a name was written, a mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered greatly. And he's like, why are you confused? Why do you wonder? I'll tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that you saw was and is not. He's now bringing final clarity to Daniel's vision. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss and go to destruction. And those who dwell on the earth will wonder, whose name has not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that he was and is not and will come. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. And they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must remain a little while. And the beast which was and is not, is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction. And the 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one purpose, that they give their power and authority to the beast. So the beast is personified here as the Antichrist, and the woman is the kingdom. She is the harlot that lays down with everybody. She's been at this since Nebuchadnezzar's time. 18:1, yeah? 18:4, thank you. These will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is the Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are called chosen and faithful. And he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw and the beast, these will hate the harlot and will make her desolate and naked, and will eat her flesh and will burn her up with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to execute his purpose by having a common purpose, and by giving their kingdom to the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman who you saw is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. After these things I saw another angel coming down out of heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illumined with his glory.
So, can I stop
Yeah,
you there?
yeah.
So, from 15 to the end there, it's kind of confusing.
What's confusing?
How many kings or kingdoms and what the timeline is. And
So,
the hour, I'm assuming the hour for an hour is right before the final blow.
yes, meaning they are given authority for a moment of time, an hour, just like they have authority here in this time, but they only have authority to serve this moment's purpose. And once this moment occurs, they all lose their authority and the beast exerts itself. They end up hating the beast, but they have to serve it. He exists. The woman is really the central figure. The woman is our willingness to. Okay, it's like this. You know when one business, let's say you have a big business and they put a small business out of business and they're like, it's not personal, it's just business. All the time we allow ourselves to act unethically because we're going to make money, you know? It's surprising, it's shocking to learn the money, the business that was going on between American corporations and Nazi Germany during World War II. Yeah, like almost all their steel came from America. We sold it to them. No kidding. The Ford company gave them thousands of dollars annually. Even now, I'm just saying this is the way the harlot operates. The U.S. puts an embargo on China, on Russia, right? And so that nobody can buy its oil. Well, Russia sells its oil through a shadow fleet to India, and guess who buys it from India and sells it to Europe at an inflated price?
China.
The U.S.
Oh, the US. Wow.
So the U.S. says, Europe, you cannot buy your oil from Russia anymore. You can buy it from us. We'll buy it from Russia and sell it to you at a nice profit.
Oh, wow.
The harlot will lay down with the enemy to make money. That's the way a harlot operates. It doesn't matter if it's Persia. Doesn't matter if it's Greece. Doesn't matter if it's Babylon. The harlot has been seducing the kings of the earth the whole time. They never knew they were being seduced by a harlot. Because, do you guys remember in Proverbs, I think we went over this? The bride, wisdom, seduces the young man, and so does the harlot. And she does it by saying the same thing as the bride. Satan seduces the kings of the earth by saying, of course you're special. You're the exception. Just follow me. Yes, I'm going to give you this prophet. And yes, of course that's God blessing you. Just follow me over here. God is blessing you. You're getting all this because you're special. You deserve it. It's okay because you're going to use it for good. You're going to use it. You're doing good work. You deserve this. We can all justify our sin, right? That's the harlot. So it's not, the beast here isn't what's in focus because we've already been given that information in Daniel and stuff. It's important. John wants answers. But really what's in focus here is the devastation of the harlot and the fact that she's not going to be around anymore to deceive the nations of the earth and the kings of the earth, who in their desire for fulfillment have been led astray by the prostitute.
Easily done.
Easily done, right. Let's pause there, because it's been pretty heavy tonight.
So, when we first started, you talked about, the circle and then another circle and these judgments, and they're all kind of different ways of seeing the single judgment that's happening.
Yep.
So I was just going to ask you to kind of put these judgments that we've been reading about here kind of back into that.
Yeah, so
You can erase that
the seal judgments, remember, I said we were done. Y'all can leave anytime. The seal judgments, just give me some characteristics of them. Remember, the four horsemen were part of it. There's four of them. There's a conqueror, remember? There's no more peace. There's war. There's famine. And then it ends with a great earthquake and the sun and the moon and the thing, right? Yeah, so we know generally that there's a time coming and it's going to be like this stuff. There's a conqueror. There's going to be a conqueror. And there's going to be famine. And there's going to be war. And there's not going to be peace. And it's going to end. I should put it in the middle, really. It's like right here. It's going to, like, there's something specific, though, because there's one day where there's like peals of lightning and an earthquake and the sun, like something specific, but before the specific thing, it's real general. Well, then what happens in the trumpets? We have something specific that happens, and it leads to this prolonged series of events. It's much more specific, but surprise, this series of events culminates in this same final event. So it doesn't exceed this, but it's much smaller circle. It's within this larger idea of famine and why is there war? Why isn't there peace? Why is there famine? Well, there's a huge meteor strike that kills a third of the vegetation, and it just puts a massive strain on resources and life and everything. And it just kicks off. Oh, and we learn along the way, there's these two dudes who are just pissing everybody off the whole time. Being like, this is from God because you deserve it. This one's for Jeremiah. The bowls are specifically, this is a very short period of time, almost like 40 days. And it's just plague after plague after plague. Why do we know it must be a short period of time? Because that's how it happened in Egypt. These are the last 7 plagues. Like, oh, well, the first one sucked. Well, the last ones are going to be like that. And they're going to culminate in this final day. So each one of these, I should maybe have made the first circle big like that. And also, they should have ended here. You're getting increasing detail and exposure. Satellite view, 30,000 feet, ground level.
But you're getting a closer or view of the same time and the
same events, right. And increasing specificity the more you get to here. In that, like these last, here on, we know that this is 100% after the second 3.5-year period. This, we don't know in. This is at least 7 years. But we have day counts, like specific months counts. We have kingdom counts. We're going to find out. I mean, there's a lot of really specific details that we get the closer we get to an understanding of this day. Also, interestingly enough, the further we get, the more reliant John is on you for understanding. John is assuming, like, when I say John, what John is being shown is the rest of Daniel's vision. He's not giving him Daniel again, right? He relies that John knows the beast. He's like, John doesn't get it, but he gets the leopard and the bear and the lion. He's like, he sees all of it, and he's like, oh, okay. So a lot of these details are given to you. It's a compressed file, is what it is. He shows you the dragon with the beast, and he gives you all those references to Daniel, and you're supposed to be able to see that and decompress that information and bring up all Daniel. You're supposed to see the horsemen, decompress all of it. Zechariah, Ezekiel, you see the Son of Man, the Sea of Glass. Oh, download all that. Plagues, Exodus. Aaron, all of it just decompresses all this information, and he's correlating all of the kingdoms of the world and all this conflict of history and reaching and how it all contributes to this final day of conflict. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and that God is just and right, and that even in the end, they're not mad anymore at God. Generally, they're mad at Jesus. Like they're mad at Yahweh and Jesus Christ. They're not mad at Buddha. They're not mad at Muhammad. You know what I mean? Like they're mad at the Lamb. And it's just interesting that even in the midst of, it's not interesting, we're all, but they know they just won't repent. Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, I just reading that on the Euphrates River, like watching stories lately about the Euphrates River drying up.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened before?
I have no
It is
idea.
now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. But that's not related to what's coming.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just weird seeing that. It's like because I'm showing some videos and seeing some footage of the Euphrates River and how it fed everything.
Yeah.
And now it's like just a trickle. It's about shipping lanes. It's like everything's like wow, it's just dried up.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's related to it because